Are you and your friends being attacked by unseen entities, a psychotic killer, or zombies, and you happen to be the only black person? If you've seen any horror movie before, you know you're going to die. Well, I have good news for you. It doesn't have to go down that way. The good people at NOPOC have created a new line of white face makeup to camouflage you from all categories of horror. Just smear on a healthy dollop of white face, and those zombies won't know who to kill first. Just go to nopoc.com/HMT to get your bottle of white face for just $16.19. Order today to get a free sample of their Revirginator, the perfume that makes you smell like a virgin. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk.
An opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Go, 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 go.
Just took a stroll through the scraggly woods. He had no face! Horror!
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
New theatrical releases always get priority.
But we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible.
Wow, that didn't sound good.
Hey, folks.
Hey, baby.
I'm Bryce Hansen. I hold a PhD in poopology. Spoopology.
And I'm Dr. David Day. I'm the foremost expert in scare no-nos.
And with our powers combined, we are Horror Movie Talk. Check out our website at horrormovietalk.com. There you'll find links to all the important things like social media. We also have links to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform. We post new episodes every Wednesday. So if you like the episode and you're new, check us out.
Yeah, also call us at our voicemail phone number. We got 682-253-4468. Or if you can't remember that long of a number, just remember 682-253-4HMT. And, leave us a voicemail. Tell us what you're thinking about. It occurs to me, we're recording this pretty far ahead of time, so as this is coming out, it's going to be getting closer to that, to one of those Netflix party watching deals.
Yeah, so we're going to try to do these Netflix parties the second
Saturday
of every month. So, yeah. So I think the next one would be the 10th of October.
Cool. Don't know what yet. You got it if you want to kind of help guide the, the choosing of what movie that will be, we'll probably be putting up a post on our Facebook group, Horror Movie Talk podcast group. And from there you can vote on what movie you want us to watch for the Netflix party. Netflix party is an application that you put on your browser that just throws a chat box next to the movie that you're all watching, and it syncs the movie up for everyone.
Yeah. So
you're all watching the same thing at the same time.
They also have it for Amazon now too, so it might be able to do that, but Amazon doesn't have any good horror. Like, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
They might in October though. Yeah. They try to step it up in
probably,
October.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got a great show today. Today we're going to be talking about the brand new horror movie Antebellum. And I was really excited to see this in the theater, and there's no such thing as theaters anymore, so we watched it at home.
I was excited for this for a number of different reasons, and I can't say I'm disappointed necessarily.
Right.
I have feelings, and they're not fully fleshed out yet. So I'm excited to do this episode because I have a lot to work through.
Yeah.
Mostly a lot of white guilt.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting episode, I think, because there's lots to talk about. This film has gotten really poor ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. Like,
yeah, what the fuck is that?
I mean, low 30s, and it's not terrible. It's not like a terrible movie.
It's not a bad movie. I can see being frustrated with it, but you got to take a step back and look at it kind of a little objectively, the way a reviewer is supposed to.
Right.
Because my knee-jerk reaction, especially for the first quarter of this movie, was kind of like, okay, all right. But
really, because I thought Well, we'll get in. We'll get into
it.
If you're new to the show, we start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge, where it makes you angry, 5 being an average film that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being so good it transcends genre boundaries. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film, so you can skip that part if you haven't seen it or think you're going to see it later.
Pretty expensive to watch this fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that too, like the movie, the theater at home experience.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's this weird thing where people are so entitled now.
That's true. That is true.
People are so entitled, and they
$3.99 now to stream directly into my fucking room. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I maybe get it for free somewhere else.
Right.
Whereas, 15 years ago, there was only Hollywood Video and Blockbuster, and it was like,
I mean, even
guess what? It's going to cost $5 from there, but there was something about.
And then
going
you'll
to the
forget
store.
to take it back, and you'll have to pay like.
But I like that.
Yeah. I know. I mean,
there's a physical aspect to it.
I would still I finally stopped using Redbox because I craved that. It was like, oh yeah, it's a great deal because it's only like $2, but it's still like the rental experience.
Right.
And then I always forget to take it back.
Right.
Like every time. And I end up paying like $6 per rental.
It's something in your lizard brain that tells you, a physical thing that you hold is worth more than some digital thing.
It really would be worth more if they had like all the extras on those DVDs, but they stripped those out for the Redbox thing.
Oh, that's kind of lame. I had to hold back some vomit on that one.
Someone mentioned. Well, we've had some recent complaints about the belches again. This is a perennial problem, and someone brought up the point that we might have GERD, and they might not be wrong.
You're not terribly important to me.
I don't care.
So,
I don't know what that is. Gastrointestinal reflux disease?
Yeah.
Sounds like a made-up thing.
Uh-huh.
Like peanut allergies.
And COVID-19.
Whoa, you can't say that shit. That'll get you taken off of iTunes.
Oh, yeah. No, we believe in COVID-19.
We 100% stay safe.
Just not peanut
No, we
allergies.
do. We just wanted to make a funny joke.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Now everything's in question.
Please, ghost of Steve Jobs, don't take us off iTunes.
Okay.
All right.
What do we got later in the show?
So we're going to talk about all that stuff later. Later, we're going to be playing taglines, where we come up with alternate taglines for the movie we review. And we're going to listen to our voicemail in a segment we like to call Horror Movie... Whoore. Actually, I have my own today.
Oh.
Horror Movie...
Whoores.
It's Johnny.
That's Joey Pants.
Joey Pants.
And others from... That's the Sopranos
Do it
version.
again.
This is the Sopranos version of Whoooa.
Whoores.
That last one really bangs it in there.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about this movie. We saw the new release, Antebellum, starring one of the most beautiful people in existence.
She is...
I'm talking, of course, about Gabourey Sidibe.
She is transcendently beautiful. I can't. Like, I don't have words. It's just, she's shockingly gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Here is the trailer.
There she is. Guess what? Daddy is going to get you dressed for school today.
We are descendants of the gods. This land was always ours. But we must never relent. We're nowhere and everywhere.
You're from Virginia, right? I can tell. You're special.
We are the future.
You're not like the others.
you were before. That's over.
What are we doing? What is the plan?
We go tonight.
911, what is your emergency?
Yeah, I missed Bryce's joke.
Yeah.
Because I can't stop thinking about Janelle.
Janelle Monet. Yeah, Janelle Monet is one of the most stunning human beings like ever. Like she's like
not that who did you mention?
Gabourey Sidibe.
Not that Gabourey isn't beautiful.
She's adorable.
Yeah, but oh man,
yeah, Janelle Monet is like when you hear stories about like Helen of Troy and like people fighting an entire war because someone stole your hot girlfriend or wife. Like
this is the girl.
Yeah, Janelle Monet would be like, okay, yeah, I'd get it. Like there's just some people. I know this is like objectifying women and whatnot. So there's some people, and I'm not saying just women. There's some like men too.
Oh yeah,
that their face is so pleasing to look at, you just don't want to not look at it.
Yeah, Brad Pitt is. I mean, he's just a stunning man to look at.
Right.
You just, man, in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm shocked at how good he looks.
Yeah.
For how old he is.
Yeah.
And, yeah. But Janelle is transcendently gorgeous.
So for me, the people that jump to mind are Janelle Monet, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah, she's very pretty.
And, what's her name? I'm just blanking on her name.
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly is really gorgeous too. No, I was thinking of the Wonder Woman. I can't remember what her name is.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either.
That is...
It starts with a G, I think.
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to say it.
Yeah, she's pretty stunning
She's
as well.
like, that was like watching Wonder Woman and watching her, just like, ugh. It's just like, it's just like your gut has a knot in it.
It's hard because it's like being punched over and over again. It's like, God damn, you're so good looking.
Yeah. So who would be the male equivalent? So we got Brad Pitt.
I think this might just be me, but I doubt it. What's his name from Nightcrawler?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say, who is it? What's his name? From
Benedict Cumberbatch.
High School Musical.
Yes.
Yeah. That guy.
Yeah, he is absolutely one of those
What's his name?
guys.
I can't remember. Wow, that's really early. I got no sleep.
He has a show on Netflix that girls, you can just turn it on and it's like how Baby Einstein draws the attention of every baby in the room. You just turn on Baby Einstein and all the babies in the room are just like, it's the same thing for his show. What's his name?
Zac Efron.
Yeah. That's who I'm talking about.
Zac Efron. There's probably, any of our women listeners, if you haven't turned us off by now, send us a message on social media. Tell us who the equivalent of Janelle Monet is, on the male side of the gender spectrum.
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my God. It even has a watermark.
Jesus. Okay, so Antebellum is available for rent as a theater-at-home release on many digital streaming platforms.
What does that mean?
So
theater at home.
So here's the thing. They spent a lot of money making movies, right?
Yeah.
And one of the ways they make money off of it is they put them in theaters and make people pay a decent amount for a ticket.
Yeah.
Which is in terms of like a theater experience, movie tickets are very cheap.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever gone to like a musical or an opera or like anything that, well, live performance is a different thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But like if you're going out to do something,
we need something to compare to here.
Yeah. That's like $60, $70 maybe for like a cheap seat.
Yeah.
And so they go to theaters and people now are like, why would I ever do that? That's so expensive. I could just sit at home and watch Netflix. And so since movie theaters are closed, they have all these movies backed up and they're deciding to say like, okay, so we will just allow people to stream them into their own home, but sell it at movie theater ticket prices.
Because they have
And there's a blockage.
They have a blockage.
So in terms of like comparing it to a movie theater ticket for a date night, $20 is very reasonable, especially since you can watch it for 48 hours. Like,
Yeah.
it's actually it is a higher value.
Yeah, because you don't have to, you don't have to just discreetly finger her.
But you can just get all up in that. You don't have to wear pants, Good.
The reality.
That's a real good point, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's interesting though, like seeing the marketing aspect of it.
This
because
is just
once
a marketing spin.
Once you put it in a place where people are used to paying a certain price for the same type of product, like you are just shooting yourself in the foot by changing things up. Because people are like, they're like up in arms about it. They're like, if you look at people like talking about Mulan on Disney Plus, like you need to pay.
Dude, the outrage about all the different aspects of Mulan is astonishing.
Yeah, and you basically look at it as like, what would you normally pay to see it right now in the theaters? Like yes, it's worth more right now because it's new and no one's ever seen it. Later, when people have paid decent money, it'll be cheaper for all the cheapskates.
Yeah, but don't you know they shot it in this particular region of China, and so there's human rights issues, and it's not like I'm saying there aren't, but also, which is it? If they'd have shot it here, you'd have been like, why didn't you shoot it in China in this particular region? What you can't. It's appropriating a cult, and it's like, okay, well, how do we do this right? What's the right thing to do? I don't know.
Yeah.
The answer is you got to be smarter than me.
Anyways,
a lot smarter than me.
If you want to watch it soon, you got to pay $20 to watch it at home. To rent. You don't get to buy it.
I think you have GERD.
Probably. So it's pretty hard to give a synopsis of Antebellum without giving spoilers, but I'll give it a shot. Janelle Monet stars as Veronica Henley, a famous author and speaker on inclusion and women's empowerment living in modern society, who finds herself suddenly living as Eden, an African-American slave in a southern plantation.
See, I take issue with this synopsis already. The way I would write this synopsis.
You would start with Eden first.
I would start with Eden first, but I would just draw a parallel between, I wouldn't.
Yeah. See,
I would, they are two separate characters.
I know.
That's how I would do the synopsis for this.
Sure.
I'd say you have two separate people living
She's living as Eden. Like it's
two different times, and they are played by the same person. They're played by Janelle, but they are in 200 years apart.
Okay, thanks, David. So this is actually like pretty similar to what most of the other synopses are saying.
Okay,
then
they did a bad job.
An African, blah, blah, blah. So Veronica is forced to deal with living as a powerless slave while having the mind of a strong, independent 21st century black woman. Veronica bides her time and submits to some of history's greatest horrors to pick the right time to make her escape and find her way back to her life.
Yeah.
This one's really tough for me. The premise is really solid.
Yeah.
Like genuinely great. Yeah. And I think I'm really glad that this movie got made. Like I don't have any qualms about saying like this should be out there. This should have been made. To set the everyday occurrences of the antebellum South in the U.S. as a horror movie is just a fantastic idea. Just like setting history or historical events as horror, because it's like this stuff really happened. You know, stuff like
see, and this is something I knew we would get into. This didn't strike me as horror for a lot of it. Most of it. The vast majority. Except for the obvious, I don't know, human rights issue, treating people as objects and slaves and this kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty horrible.
I mean, why shouldn't it be considered horror, though? Like, it's literally like...
Why should it?
It's like the same thing as Saw. It's like you like, imprison people in situations that they don't want to be and force them to do horrible things.
But there's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people who are like, this isn't horror. This is not horror. And, I mean, there's a strong argument to be made for both, I think. I do. Whether or not one is true or the other is kind of a subjective thing. And dependent on your ability to feel empathy for others entirely.
Right.
You know, if your idea of horror is just Jason rampaging through a series of camp counselors, this might not make your cut.
Yeah. I mean, even then it's like, if you have horror movies about serial killers, or it's like, yes, this is a real thing. It's not like supernatural or anything. It's just like, this is a real occurrence that happens, but you set it in a genre context. And like, that's
like Friday the 13th one.
So
no.
I genuinely think this hasn't been done before. And it's a fantastic way to address like this historical atrocity. The trailer is pretty misleading though, and I feel it really undercut the film by suggesting a much more interesting plot device than was actually used in the film. This is intentional, I think, because it also is suggested by the narrative structure of the first act. I could see how audiences could feel a bit of a bait and switch. If you go into this expecting kind of like a complicated, esoteric, time travel-y, like multiple dimensions, or like even just like a Get Out / Us type premise, I don't think that you're going to be happy.
That's how it struck me. I experienced this movie as that. Yeah. As the things you described.
I mean, I think it's intentional because the way they structured the narrative,
it's obviously intentional,
is trying to do that. And the trailer is definitely trying to do that.
Yeah. And it's how it struck me. Like, I didn't watch the trailer ahead of time.
I'm sure you've seen the trailer. I mean, it's been in the before new releases.
Maybe.
Several times.
Maybe, but I have no recollection of the trailer. Okay. It did strike me as the thing that you're describing it like not being necessarily.
And I think what they do decide to do might elicit audible groans from some people. And it wouldn't necessarily be unwarranted.
Yeah,
but
they're not necessarily wrong. But also, the devices are solid. The devices they used in this are solid. Right. And I did enjoy it.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like this is not the movie I expected. Mm-hmm. It's not as good as the movie that I expected, but it is a complete package, and it does a particular thing, competently, I guess.
Yeah. It really, This is a weird one because I say that I like being gaslit. And this movie did that really well. But to an extent that I almost disliked it for it. And I think that's what people are reacting with, is it messed with them. It manipulated them in a way that they didn't necessarily expect, which a lot of times is good in movies. But the way, or maybe it's the subject matter, all of the very serious, I
think when I read the reviews that are not favorable on Rotten Tomatoes, most of them are like they were expecting a better movie, or they recognize that the subject matter was great and like the idea put out by the movie was a good one, but they just didn't deliver on it well
I think
enough.
They did. This is the thing. I think it delivered on it in a way. I think you were expecting a curveball to the right, and you got a curveball to the left.
Sure. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, you're all switched up.
Right.
And I felt that way too, but I had to take a step back from that and look at it, examine my emotions again, and go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How did this because this did something to me.
Right.
It really fucked me around. And I appreciate it for it.
Yeah.
It did take skill to do that.
Yeah. So the movie doesn't have, it has its share of problems. So the writing does not have any nuance, like at all. It's not nuanced. And many of the characters, especially the white characters, except for one, are caricatures of just overt racism.
Right.
The cast is really good and does what it can for the film, but overall, the film squanders the opportunity to explore its horrific premise.
A lot of the characters in this are extremely one-dimensional.
Yeah.
In every way you can imagine.
Yeah, even the protagonist is kind of like pretty two-dimensional. It's like it just sets it up like this is the type of person she is, and then here's the situation she's put in. She doesn't like it. It's like, okay. There's not extreme stakes other than like she was put in a very shitty situation and needs to get out of it. But there's not really like anything really deeper than that. I mean, she's got a family to go back to, but it's not like there's anything.
I don't know. The stakes seemed impressive to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, the stakes are there, but like the personal stakes, it's not
her buy-in. Her character's buy-in.
Yeah, you could have put in any other person.
I guess. Really, my real critique of the characters is that a lot of them lack depth.
Yeah.
But I can kind of see past it. It doesn't bother me it bothered me for the first quarter of the movie, and then kind of once I got into the flow of it, it stopped bothering me. I was like, this isn't a character development movie. This is some sort of.
This is like a setup, switch up,
right? Some sort
twist.
Of mind fuck. Yeah.
Okay, so for these reasons, I think the film will be a big disappointment for those expecting a film of the caliber of Get Out or Us, which obviously, like this film, would not have gotten made without the success of those.
I think this
movies.
I think this is on par with Us. But I didn't think tremendously of Us. Get Out, no, this does not. This does not achieve levels of Get Out.
I think, even with Us, I think there's more depth there. There's more like...
There's perceived depth. There's forced depth. There's a lot of, intentional nuance that is, smashed into it, but it's not done as skillfully as Get Out.
Yeah, you don't have a hugely high opinion of Us.
I gave it a 7.
Reviews have not been kind for Antebellum. It's in the low 30s on Rotten Tomatoes right now. What I can say is that it's not that bad. While this is not the film that I expected, it's still a very intriguing concept that is told in a passable way, even if it's not the route I would have chosen. It genuinely portrays the horrors of the Antebellum South in a genre fashion, and that is really what is holding together the movie more than anything.
We should mention the definition of the word antebellum means pre-Civil War South.
Yeah, before war.
Yeah.
Like you can say it for any time frame, but like
yeah,
usually it's referring to before the Civil War in the U.S.
Right. So it's referring to a time period and place. And so, yeah, what's your score for this?
So I am giving it right down the center a 5 out of 10.
And so I enjoyed this. I don't know.
I think
I was really angry at the start of this.
Yeah.
Like I felt like particularly at the one-dimensional characters who didn't have much to say and were very stereotypical, and you could just guess exactly what they were going to say. But I really, once it ended, I really stepped back and was like, how did this affect me? And it affected me pretty well.
I think it's a memorable movie.
Yeah.
I think I'll think about it, like especially when I think of like black horror movies. Like this is definitely deserves to be like at the top of mind just for the subject matter.
The real issues that I have with this movie are the whole cloth stealing of concepts.
Yeah.
Of
other horror movies.
Or thrillers.
That
the whole cloth ripping just directly, like zero effort ripping of these mechanics that work very well.
Well, I don't know. I think in the movie that I'm thinking of, it did not work well. People did not respond to it well.
See, but that's just like their opinion, man. You know, like to me,
to you, it worked.
It worked. Fucking like it blew me away.
Yeah, I like the movie that you're referring to.
Yeah, it was very Hitchcockian and very Twilight Zone-esque.
Well, it's very, very much like a certain modern director that is not thoroughly respected anymore.
I don't get it. Do not get it.
Anyways, I mean, for me, it's I really, really like the premise. I really liked, like, even like the plot devices that they used. I think it's a well, thought out idea. But in terms of like a movie, in terms of like character development or writing or like some of the other, kind of development kind of things that kind of build the depth of the movie.
Yeah.
That's not there. Yeah. And so I can't really give it above a 5 because of that.
I think for me, my enjoyment of picking apart what happened to me during watching it, and looking back at how it messed me up in my head while watching it, warrants. I'd say this sits about where Us does for me, which is a 7. Mm-hmm. I genuinely, I like this. And 1BR did a very similar thing, which was it pulled the rug out from under you several times, and then you were like, "Wait a minute, what's happening?" And I just kept the mystery of the thing was impressive to me. So
right? Yeah,
I liked it.
So. Yeah, that's our take. Let's talk about ourselves and our sponsors for a little bit. If you want to call us and leave us a voicemail, again, our number is 682-253-4468. If you want to support the show, there's several ways you can do it. Probably the most direct way is join our Patreon, which isn't just giving us money, but it's also like we give you extra content that people seem to enjoy. Like we have a whole extra podcast called The Afterpod, where we leave the mics running and talk about stuff outside of horror movies and stuff happening to us. And I'll tell you what, our lives this year have been pretty dramatic.
Impressive. Very nice.
Been impressive.
Also, other perks are you can submit and vote for our patron selection every month. So there's lots of different tiers to check out. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk. Also, We have a swag shop on our website, horrormovietalk.com. Go to the shop section, and there you can buy Horror Movie Talk logo tees. You got lots of cool stickers, some of them designed by Dustin Goebel.
Most of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a free show, that we put this on every week just for free. And so any way you can support us, we certainly do appreciate it because, we'd like to grow and get big and be able to do cool things like buy video cameras and set up our studio to make it look like it's not just two guys in their pajamas, farting and burping so that you actually get to see the farts and burps.
Yeah.
And other things, we
want to bring you stuff that no one's asking for, like our ugly mugs.
Yeah.
So, you can also support the podcast by buying anything on Amazon. That includes movie rentals. If you click through the green button in the banner in the header of our website at horrormovietalk.com, we just get a little taste of whatever you buy from Amazon.
Yeah, make sure you check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He's a professional artist who fucks so goddamn hard that his dick turned Teflon. He also takes commissions for artwork from HMT fans, so make sure you contact him at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram and make your artistic dreams come true. Tell him HMT sent you. Man, some of the customized artwork that he's done for fans has been off the hook cool. Like, I can't get over the Cannibal the Musical one. That's that's
a good one.
Just that's like 80s movie poster level brilliant.
Yeah. He's awesome. We love Dustin.
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
Just make sure to eat.
Speaking of artwork, did you get anything in the mail from Carson?
I don't know. I don't think I did.
One of our listeners, Carson.
Whoa!
Sent a fan.
Wow, that is super cool.
Fan art. So she sent a
Linda Blair,
like a representation of Linda Blair in The Exorcist.
How did you receive that? On your doorstep?
I didn't. Sometimes I blank. I gave her my mom's address for some reason. My mom was like, "Hey, you got a package here?"
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, Carson, thanks for sending this out.
Your mom opened that up and was like, "Jesus Christ!"
No, it was sent to me. But yeah, sometimes I like, "What's your address?" And somehow I still like spout off my parents' address.
Real mama's boy,
which is weird. But yeah, it's a really cool.
That's beautiful
picture. We'll post a picture on social media.
Yeah, thank you, Carson. I can't wait to put that in our studio that no one gets to see. For good reason.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
I'm surrounded by Bryce's dirty clothes.
This is where I work. Those are clean clothes. I just never fold or hang up anything.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's get into spoilers.
Let's do it. Let's.
Spoilers.
Is ready. Morning ready.
All right.
Is that what I think it is? Have we got corn?
You sent me a link. You found him. You found his website. You found the Drain Addict's website. Ollie and Ratty. We're not going to dox him, but he does have a website. It's a nice website.
It's really interesting seeing like the professional version of it because he's got some videos on the website that are like from the Drain Addict channel, but it's specifically to show like
early Drain Addict.
This is what I can do. And
before he morphed into what he is now.
There's one that's really fascinating.
It's like watching Buffalo Bill. Did you grow up?
Did you see? Did you watch any of those videos that he has on his website? There was one where it was like a see-through pipe. It's like a see-through tube, and he stuffed it with like cabbage and raw like whole chickens.
I didn't watch that one.
It's awesome. And then he sends his like jet sprayer up it, and you get to see it just annihilate all these all this blockage.
It's pretty thick.
Is that the only one I have? I guess I don't have many.
Oh, I got you covered.
It's a blockage. We need a blockage.
When I hear that sound, I know I'm going to have a good time.
It's the dulcet tones of some Drain Addict.
Yeah, if you're not familiar, this is a channel on YouTube called Drain Addict where you get to see poop, a lot of it, other people's, and high pressure water being just annihilating that poop and liquefying it, but not just liquefying it, also aerosolizing it.
Right.
You know? So
and he just was wearing shorts and a short sleeve t-shirt with medical latex gloves.
I've been trying for months to get Ollie on the show, and he ignores me when I message him. So we do need you guys to head on over to Drain Addict on YouTube. And
well, now you got the official website. You could go and just actually call him or.
I keep thinking about calling him, and I keep thinking back to the Simpsons episode where Bart calls Australia, and they have that monumental phone bill, and I don't know if that's still how it is. You know, does it cost a tremendous amount to call Australia? I guess I could call him from a Google Voice number and avoid the long distance.
I feel like with cell phones, long distance isn't a thing anymore.
I don't know. I don't know. But and then did you know that same episode was the originator for the word dollary dues?
Really?
Yes. And then not long ago, in 2015, Australia had a real serious vote, the country, to change the official name of their currency to dollary dues. Dollary dues. And they didn't pass. But if you notice on Bluey, on one of our favorite kids shows that we watch with our kids all the time, they say dollary dues when they refer to money.
Uh-huh.
So I'm all messed up about... Anyway, so Australia, we love you. Tell us more about yourself and get a hold of Ollie for us.
Yeah, why is Australia just the funnest English-speaking country?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yes.
I mean, they just seem to have, just the funnest sensibilities.
Yeah.
Just cultural sensibility.
It's like a whole country of Texans that have a real sense of humor about themselves.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Right.
That really have a sense of humor about themselves.
Right.
It's like British Texans.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so I talked about the trailer, the expectations that the trailer said. I got to start out with this because it set the stage for what I expected going into this movie. And there's one thing in particular, or there's two things in particular in the trailer that are this is setting up one particular thing of a crossover of time periods. Mm-hmm. Because it shows a couple things, and in the trailer that we played the audio of, it does, three things, actually. One, it shows Janelle Monet looking down, the hallway of, a modern hotel, and at the end is this, little girl in, antebellum,
attire.
Hoop skirt kind of stuff. Not hoop skirts, but, I mean,
Yeah. She's dressed up old school.
Yeah, so it looks out of place, anachronistic in the terms, in the sense of you're seeing a ghost kind of thing. Second one is she's out on the town with her friends and they almost get run over by a horse and carriage. Yeah. And so it looks where did that come from? That's also anachronistic. And then it shows another scene, and this is the one that really is they were trying to set up a concept that was not in the film. It shows the slaves in the cotton field looking up and seeing a plane fly in the sky, and then for a split second it disappears and then comes back.
We've narrowed it down.
So
yes.
The trailer shows something's messing with the space-time continuum. And like this lady is caught in the middle of it, and she's going back and forth between two, to like a historical relative or something like that. And that's like the sci-fi / Star Trek premise that you're assuming it's going to be.
Well, I have a devil's advocate thing to suggest. So, I mean, technically, the movie comes off, basically says slavery still exists today, and you're just not looking for it in the right places. And so how far are we from where you suppose we are? You know, are we that far off from the antebellum South? No, is what this movie says. And slavery exists today, and racism is still alive and kicking. And is this really the future? Yes, and also no.
Yeah, I mean, it opens with a quote from William Faulkner that says, "The past is never dead, it's not even past."
Right.
So, yeah, even that is like setting up like... There's lots of movies that play with time like that, where it's like, you don't really know what's going on because people are jumping back and forth through time or interacting through time in unnatural ways. And you can do that in movies. 'Cause
you're hung up on the physical aspect of jumping back and forth in time, whereas this is really my devil's advocate view of this is that this is a conceptual an ideological jump.
Yes, both of those. I mean, both like the way that they did it and the way that I was expecting would have accomplished that as well. Like you can do it both ways. But I mean, it seems very intentional that that's how they formatted the trailer, especially that plane one. It was like, okay, that you're specifically trying to say something is in the movie that's not. That scene is not in the movie.
Well, the scene is not in the movie. It kind of is.
They see a plane, but it doesn't disappear and reappear.
Right.
Is the thing.
Right. No. And that's where the kind of the conceptualization of, I mean, that editing does accomplish does achieve the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what really happens is much more simpler than that. It's nothing about space-time continuum. It's just setting up expectations for what's happening and then subverting those expectations at the end. Mm-hmm. We could say it right now what it actually is.
Sure.
So what happens is it starts out with Eden, this black.
This is
slave.
A big spoiler, by the way.
Yeah,
so
this is
if you haven't seen the movie and want to, this is worth turning off.
Yeah, this is the big spoiler of the movie. So it starts out with Eden. She's a black slave on this plantation.
Why she got to be black?
There were white slaves too. They're
jokes.
They set it up to where, I mean, it's set up to make you believe, yeah, this is antebellum South. This is a historical story.
Plantation, slaves.
And it stays there for a long time. It stays there for 42 minutes before anything else is shown.
Does it really?
Yeah. It's forever. The first act is really long. So yeah, for 40, I think I wrote it down. Was it 42 or it might have been 48? No, 38 minutes. 38 minutes before it switches to quote unquote modern times. Mm-hmm. So it starts out with this woman played by Janelle named Eden, and they make it a whole point to like say your name, you know, very much like Roots, a Kunte Kinte moment of like, no, this is your slave name kind of thing. And it shows these horrific circumstances of, you know, physical slavery and like sexual slavery and just awful, which stuff like this actually exists.
Yeah,
it existed back then.
It was a very Tarantino-esque version of what slavery might have been, and may well have been. I don't know, but that is to say, extremely hyped up, like on steroids. Very, very hateful. there was no normal life feel about this at all. It was all pure fucking hatred every second.
Yeah.
It was like white people fucking hate these and want nothing more than to destroy their lives and crush their souls in a garbage crusher. You know, like,
I think
very fiery hatred and anger.
Yeah, and I think the way they structure the premise of that does make sense in the world, because they say,
they set it up to work.
They set it up to say, like, this is not just any plantation. This is like a reformer plantation.
Right.
So, like, this is where you send your problem slaves or something like that, is the sense that you get. And they're super strict to the point of, they say you cannot talk unless spoken to, not even amongst yourselves.
Right.
Like, there's no talking. So it's like the strictest version of a plantation is what it says. So that's why, like, you're dealing with uber racists here, you know? And then, at about 38 minutes,
I can't imagine having that much energy around much, you know, having that much like seething energy around. It just seems like I get tired. I need to nap a lot.
Yeah. Me personally. Yeah. But I see it every day.
Oh yeah.
That kind of seething hatred. I mean, just like watch any video about people yelling about having to wear a mask.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all about,
yeah, but you gotta figure those people. I mean, that's a moment in time for those people it's unique. They're not sitting in their armchair. You know, this is the same concept as mostly peaceful, right?
Right.
You know, the
mostly peaceful riots.
Yeah, the murder scene was mostly peaceful, except for a brief 2-minute period where a woman was stabbed to death.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's the same kind of deal. It's like defending an ideology or like feeling attacked. Your worldview attacked is like when people get really extreme with their reactions.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, look, to this movie's point, like you need a good guy, you need a bad guy, you need it to come across strong.
Right.
And this fucking achieves it. Like it's like, whoo.
Yeah, these are definitely monsters. And okay, so then it hops to modern times, quote unquote, and Janelle Monet is playing a character named Veronica something, starts with an H, and she's, you know, living with her family. She's got a husband and a daughter. She's a successful speaker and author around black issues, like what's it called? It's not integration. It's I had it written on something before. Anyways, lots of women.
That's Bryce's brain.
Women empowerment talk. She gets up and like this is not super subtle either. She like gets up and gives a talk about, you know, it's our time now. Us black powerful women. It's our turn.
Is that what she says?
That's like basically the speech, and that's all that the speech is.
She was pretty eloquent in the way she said it. It wasn't quite that.
It was, yeah, I mean, she said it better. She's an actress, but, yeah, so basically it sets that up, and then there's some fucky things that happen. Like she's delivered some flowers mysteriously, and then like there's lots of really overtly racist people, especially this super racist woman that calls her on a video conference, played by Janelle Monet.
Wow, Janelle Monet was in Contact.
Yeah, she was the little
holy shit
girl in Contact.
Was that 97? Jesus Christ. Man, she's had a long career.
Yeah, she was in all the Hunger Games movies. Anyways, she was, I mean, really interesting. This first time you see Janelle Monet in that kind of character. But like super like
The Ruins. That's where I remember Janelle Monet from the most. Is The Ruins. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So she plays the like plantation master's wife back in the, you know, quote unquote olden times.
She's a real bitch.
And she's a real bitch. And And then in the modern time, she's a real bitch. She's like doing all like the super passive aggressive white people sayings. So like, oh, you are so eloquent, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you're so well spoken.
How impressive for you to be able to say words that are good.
Yeah.
Look at how you talk good.
And then it goes on, and it's not really super important what happens in modern times. She's living like a regular life. She goes out with her girlfriends and has a night on the town, and then she suddenly gets kidnapped.
Janelle does. Yeah.
Janelle does by
Jenna Malone.
Jenna Malone.
Yeah.
And it's revealed that this is not a time travel thing.
Although the whole movie goes into great... I mean, it's not even revealed then, really. I mean,
right. It's not revealed until much later.
Until the very end of the movie, it's not revealed. So...
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think...
It depends on how perceptive you are and how
right.
good your ability is to do... Because it had me fooled the whole way through. And
Well, the thing that... Yeah, it could still be time travel, but it starts like...
I thought there was a psychedelic thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was some sort of... Like, I wasn't sure. I was like, why do they have cell phones?
Right.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
and I kept getting more and more like invested in like... Because I really wanted to be invested in the movie. And so I really made an effort to like sit... To claw into the... Like, I'm strapped into the moment.
Right.
And I just kept getting like fucked around.
Yeah, so they kidnap her, and then all of a sudden we're back at the plantation with Eden, and it's after the events of the first act. Yeah. Like this is, it's the same character that we saw in the first act, but we now know that it's actually Veronica. It's the same character. There's not two different characters. It's Janelle Monet's character, Veronica, being forced to say she's Eden.
Yes. Well, kind of. It wasn't immediately clear to me. It was like, okay, yeah, it was like, is there a psychedelic thing going on? Is she reliving the past of one of her ancestors? Is she having dreams? Because there's a strong dream element of this, of her like waking up and being like, it happened again. I had that fucking dream again.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was like, is she just dream? Is this all a dream? Like,
yeah. So like when she wakes up and see, it's a mind fuck because they're being tricky because when she woke up and said, I had that dream again, she's not talking about what just happened. She's like had some dream.
Some dream, yeah.
And then, but yeah, once she gets kidnapped and taken back and we're in the third act, like the plantation owner all of a sudden has like an iPhone.
Yeah.
And he's talking on it, but it's still like the old plantation, like Southern drawl guy talking. And then so it starts becoming apparent that like, at the very least, they have modern technology there if this is the past. And then by the end, it's revealed that no, this is actually not the past. This is a recreation.
A modern day, like, summer camp for racists.
Yeah. So it's a Civil War reenactment. And there's like an actual Civil War reenactment going on, like a battle going on.
Is that a raincoat?
Pretty close. And you hear it in the first act, like the war going on in the distance.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, listen to all the rebels, you know,
hooting and hollering,
tramping along into victory.
Throwing out a big hootenanny.
And then this plantation is like right next, like a couple miles away from this battle reenactment. And it's this full on Civil War era cosplay Southern plantation
/ prison for black people.
Right. So it's the modern day cosplay with forced labor from uppity black people.
And lots of rape.
Lots of rape.
Lots of rape. Lots of violence. Yeah, there was some cool concepts that work on a number of levels. Which, like, one of the things that you have written down in your, in your points here is they're burning the cotton that they're picking, but why?
Yeah.
You know? So at the start of the movie, they're picking cotton, like slaves in the South did, and they have it piled up in piles, and they're burning it for some reason. And, it works on a symbolic level of like, oh, this is
all pointless.
This is all pointless, right? This is meant to demoralize you, to dehumanize you, to take even the fruits of your labor and make them worthless, right? But also, once you realize what the movie is, this is a recreation, this is a summer camp for racists, they don't have any use for this cotton.
Right.
They just burn it because what are they going to do with a bunch of fucking cotton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where the horror element was there the whole time for me because I have empathy for, historical slaves.
No, I do too.
But the real horror is like the reveal of like, no, this is not like society of the time. This is forced like slavery of modern day people.
Yes.
And that is horrifying. And I imagine like
it's horrifying, but is it horror?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, is it horror?
Yes, absolutely. It's horror.
Oh, okay. So then 7 is a shoo-in for being horror because, making a guy cut pieces of his fat off of his own body. I mean, that's pretty horrible.
Yeah,
right?
but it doesn't show it. So it's not that horrible.
It's shown in as a shocking, a brutal way as I can imagine.
So, I mean, it's the difference between like 12 Years a Slave and this movie. Is 12 Years a Slave a horror movie? No. It depicted the same things, but the difference is this was told in a genre format. It used the tropes of the genre, which is like...
But horrible things happening does not constitute horror.
I know. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like the same things happen in this movie as happen in 12 Years a Slave. They're horrible things, but 12 Years a Slave is not a horror movie.
And how is this?
Because it uses the genre tropes of horror movies to show like...
Such as?
Just having like a real direct one-dimensional villain that is inflicting pain specifically on the protagonist in a like horrifying way. I don't know.
So RoboCop 2 is a horror movie and Lethal Weapon is a horror movie.
No, I mean, I just...
they do that. They both do that.
I could do a full breakdown of why... of like the genre tropes that they used in the first act.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just using your flavor of argument to throw back at you because
because I'm using the same argument I made for 7.
Yes, I am.
In this context. And I'm still right.
Well, you're not. I mean, you're not doing a very good job of making your point.
Well, I understand that you don't understand my point, but
I'm
making the same point.
I understand your point, but by your definition, Lethal Weapon, RoboCop 2, horrible one-dimensional characters doing really horrible things to people, but it doesn't make it a horror movie. These are genre tropes.
Well, I mean, I can't...
I understand you don't understand my argument.
I haven't outlined every genre trope that they use, but it's a certain perspective and style that they used to align it with the horror genre that those other movies did not make attempts to do.
I don't think so. I just don't agree. It's not that I don't believe that this isn't horror. I do. I think that this is horror.
Uh-huh.
I just think that that's a weak argument.
Well, why is it horror then?
I think because it was genuinely scary.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the horror tropes that I'm talking about. Like the intent is to be scary. And primarily scary and horrifying, not to use a horrific scene to tell a dramatic story or to tell
they're not mutually exclusive.
No, they're not.
Right.
But if you're talking about like, there's lots of different ways to classify a movie, and you have to choose one as the primary, like what you would look at is like, what's the intent of like, how are they telling the story, and what techniques are they favoring? And in Seven. I mean, we already had this discussion ad nauseum in Seven, but in Seven, it's like
I shouldn't have opened this back up.
The techniques that they used was mostly to tell a dramatic story or to tell a mystery, not to emphasize the horror and the terror of the people that are victimized.
I mean, and that's where you're wrong, kiddo. You know, because it's like Brad Pitt. That's the ultimate horror to me. The end. Well, yeah,
at the end of the movie, yes, but that's, you know, the last 2 minutes do not a horror movie.
So next up on our second review of Seven. Sorry.
So anyways,
I'm sorry for derailing this.
And so that's like the whole premise of this movie, which is the same premise as.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to you. I was reading Cracker Ass Cracker on your page.
I see what your opinion of me is now. No, so I mean, you're referring to like this stole whole cloth from another movie,
yes, which was The Village.
Yeah,
whole cloth.
Yeah, this is very
right out of the. This is The Village.
Yeah, this is a straight M. Night
Shyamalan ding dong
plot. Like to the point where I wouldn't, if it said M. Night Shyamalan on this, I would not be surprised in the least.
If they didn't take M. Night out to dinner and tell him, like, hey, you know, we're going to be basically ripping your movie off 100% and repackaging it, but with
one or two main differences.
Yeah, a couple big differences, and mainly with the intent of showing that America is still very racist, was racist, was founded on racism, and is still very racist now, blah, 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 blah. If he didn't get a dinner out of this, he is owed one.
Right.
Because this movie is The Village, which is in my opinion, I love The Village. What did you think of The Village?
See, this is the thing, like, I really liked it too, and I remember hearing people hated it. Like
why?
And I was in a unique situation where I was on my mission for the 2 years that like all the hype and the release happened. So I had not seen a trailer. I had not I knew of The Village coming up when I left. I knew that it was getting made, but I didn't hear anything about it. And then I watched it and I was like, huh. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well made.
Yeah, me too.
And it was a cool, I mean, out of like the arbitrary M. Night Shyamalan twist endings, that was one of the better ones.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And this movie...
Signs, the twist ending in Shines, made me groan so much. I'm like,
Signs.
This is so lame.
I don't, I mean, look. Here's the thing. He's a good storyteller,
right?
And regardless of whatever the twist is, I mean, yeah, you need the twist to make sense for people, or they need to be bought into it in order for it to work. But the movie's still good, whether or not I even liked the twist ending on Signs. I did.
Yeah,
it doesn't bother me. And it comes down to, I think, probably your ability to willingly suspend your disbelief, you know, and just be like, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's the most, to me, I mean, I haven't seen all of Shyamalan's movies, but it's the most artificially created ending with Signs of we shoved in this B storyline flashback specifically to say water bad. That's it. It's specifically to say to give instruction on how to kill the aliens.
It's a very War of the Worlds twist. It's very, very, very.
Yeah, but specifically shoving in the flashback where the dying mother says swing away. It's so she knew this was going to happen?
No, those are just random neurons in her brain firing as she was dying. And it just happened to coincide with his... I don't know.
Or they could have just had Mel Gibson say, swing away, Meryl. and then they would accomplish the same thing.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have been mystical.
Yeah, sure.
How will you accomplish the mysticism?
Just made me roll my eyes.
Okay.
Anyway, so that premise is actually really good, and I think, like I said, it's not what I expected, and I think it would have been more interesting doing it like the kind of like time space continuum fuckiness, but that's a lot more difficult.
Oh yeah,
and a lot more difficult to pull off. And I don't think these writers could have pulled it off.
Whoa!
Because the writing was not that great.
Well, they couldn't have pulled it off because they didn't. They chose not to. But you know what? It made me angry at first. I was like, they just ripped off the Village 100%, whole cloth, just totally ripped it. And then I was kind of like, yeah, but I really liked The Village. And that mechanic works. And who's to say he didn't rip that off from some Alfred Hitchcock movie that I've never seen? Or that Alfred there are no new stories or anything like that. And to be fair, it's been 20 years since The Village came out. So I don't know. Like, it's not like you're not allowed to reuse tropes or mechanics. You are. And so that's kind of brought me full circle on my opinion of this whole thing was like you, if you were only ever allowed to build your own ending mechanics for a movie, then there'd be a lot of fucking shitty movies out there. And frankly, this mechanic works very well in this movie and in The Village.
Right. Okay, so, I mean, that's like the main things we need to talk about, but there's a couple points that I wanted to bring up of just notable moments in the movie.
Yeah.
One was like, and there's, I guess one of the things we could do is
she's
like say,
so pretty.
Oh, goddamn.
She's the prettiest person I've ever seen. I'm sorry, wife.
Yeah.
But, oh my God.
Yeah. Every movie I see her in, she hasn't been in like any huge leading role. She's usually like a supporting character.
Janelle in Moonlight is, oh my God.
Yeah.
I've never fallen in love so quickly with a person, as I did with Janelle in Moonlight. She was,
and then I saw her in
like her character was beautiful, and her just looking at her was wonderful, and she was just a ray, like God's rays coming down from the clouds. Beautiful.
And then she was in like Hidden Numbers, the movie about the black women that were calculators for the NASA program.
Oh yes, that's right. That was a good movie.
And like, just it's so distracting because you got like, wow, all these like really good looking Hollywood people, then boom, Janelle Monet, just like, holy shit,
you're so good. Then that's kind of how life is too, you know. You'll be walking along, you know, down the street, and then like you'll look up and you'll be like, oh my God, she's so pretty. Oh, she's so hot. She's so hot. She's turning me into a sexist. That bitch, you know, like.
Yeah. And there's a scene where she's doing yoga, and I wouldn't mind more yoga pants.
Oh, in this movie.
Yeah. So there's she's a gorgeous woman. Okay. There's a couple scenes, a couple things where it like gives a hint that something's not right. One of the anachronistic things is the man that in the beginning of the movie was involved in the escape where a woman died, and then it shows him later and he's in the field and he like just says cracker to this one guy, and like is confronted by the plantation owner, and then he leaves and he's cracker ass cracker.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not a phrase that they would use back then.
So
it was anachronistic, but it's like, it makes sense.
Here's a question for you. Is there any name that someone can call you, or any word that someone can say that will, about you, like
offend you because you're white?
Label on you, like the N-word? You know, is there some sort of equivalent that someone can say? Because I think I finally understand what white privilege is.
Okay.
It's not having any word on earth that you can say to me other than, other than something that's actually true about me.
Right.
You know, like, sometimes you lack empathy for people. And then I'd be like, hey, fuck you. You know, like you can't like be like, you dumb idiot. And I'd be like, okay, all right. That's what you got. Okay.
Like, I'm not an idiot.
You cracker. And I'd be like, yeah, okay.
I like crackers.
I am a cracker. I am indeed those things.
Right.
And it's like, you can't hurt me with any of that.
The other one,
you'd have to say something true about me.
All right. And
you
so,
eat too much after dinner.
Right. Yeah.
I'd be like, no!
If they're like, you fat piece of shit, and be like, well, you got me there. You got me dead to rights, sir.
Yeah. Bravo.
Okay, so now this is the other observation that's going to make me super sexist and a bad person. But out of all the scenes that could have taken me out of the movie, there was one.
Uh-huh.
All right, so Gabourey Sidibe is in this movie as, like...
This is the girl who played Precious.
Yeah, the lovable, like, super charismatic friend that she has that has, like, all the in-jokes, and they go out
she's the most one-dimensional character in this movie, aside from the racist white people.
Right. She is fun-loving and wants to fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that's her character in this movie. And, she just really wants to get laid tonight, and she wants Janelle Monet to be her wingman, which is possibly the worst idea in the world.
That's going to backfire you on you a lot. A lot. You could put Charlize Theron next to Janelle, right, and have Janelle be her wingman, and it would not work well for Charlize. Yeah,
Charlize would be like, if Charlize Theron, Janelle Monet, and me were at a table, and Charlize Theron was like hitting on me, I'd be like, why don't you shut up, bitch? Like, you kind of ruined the vibe here. So and then there's this other, like, really attractive white woman that's the only non-racist in the film, right, that's white.
Yeah.
And so they go out to dinner as a couple of gals, and there's a guy from across a restaurant that, like, sends them some drinks.
A drink.
He
doesn't want to send drinks to the table because he doesn't want the other girls to think he's interested in them. Yeah. He wants to pick out.
Yes.
Gabourey Sidibe. He's like, hey, and he is not. And he's no schlub. He's a fucking studly man.
Yeah, and they're talking about how hot he is, and so okay, I get it. Like, no body shaming. Like, I nothing discouraging Gabourey Sidibe. I think she's a beautiful woman. I think she's super charismatic and a fun person.
All the excuses, here we are.
Within, like, this movie and within real life in interviews. But there's no fucking way. There's no universe in which there's a table with Janelle Monet, another attractive woman, and then... still attractive, but Gabourey Sidibe sitting at the table.
I love seeing you,
and they're
having to maneuver your way through all these.
Well, I recognize the hypocrisy here, like, and that's like, you know, game knows game. Like, I'm super obese, and it's like, no one's gonna. If there's Brad Pitt and me and, like, you at the table, and some, like, hot woman is gonna hit on one of us.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate again.
Even if I'm super charismatic, the life of the party in this room, there's no woman, and women are better at this, at not judging for looks. There's no woman that would choose me to send a drink to.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate on you on this.
All right.
So, I don't know what this says about me, but like, if you think about it.
I'm so interested.
The real game here is, okay, now, these aren't commentary. This is a totally separate situation. I'm setting up a situation that is not within this movie. It is a situation at a bar in your local town.
Uh-huh.
You got an Uggo and you got a good looking guy or gal, whichever sex you are and whatever you're attracted to. Okay. So here's your game. Here's your real game. You hit on the uggo because that makes you look like a stellar individual. And how can you hit on the good looking one? They're so far above you. So either way, you walk out of there with some punani. But there's a much higher chance that you've just shown you've just raised your moral and ethical value into the stratosphere, and both of these women are interested in you, and maybe you set up a three-way.
This is a moral and ethical problem to pick obese women. So, I mean, the argument to make, which is one you're making, is like picking who's down to fuck, and definitely Gabourey Sidibe is the most down to fuck at that table.
In the movie, down. Yeah.
And, I mean, you could also say, like, Janelle Monet probably has her wedding ring on.
Right.
But still. I mean, am I crazy?
I think...
Is this not...
I think if you had better game, you would realize.
There are limits to my suspension of disbelief, is what I'm saying.
I think this is a true player playing his cards right.
Yeah, it sounds like a real simp move, though, is what the kids would say.
Yeah,
like,
but
I can't actually go after the extremely attractive woman, like, but maybe I can ingratiate myself to them by going after their. Yeah, that's a real simp move.
Yeah, but, people do things that work.
And then the other thing is, well, that would be true if...
Because the other option is you go and directly hit on a woman who's married, probably has her wedding ring on, and definitely get turned down because number one, she's the prettiest woman probably on earth, and you come off as, as full of yourself.
Right, but... All of these points are valid if the guy isn't absolutely gorgeous, which this guy was. Like, everyone at the table agreed that this guy was one of the most attractive people they've ever seen.
Yeah, but he has an insurmountable goal, or an unachievable goal in front of him, which is she's married. So how do you jump that hurdle?
Well, number one, you be extremely good looking. End of list.
No, that's I think wrong. I think that's oversimplifying things.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers Van Patten's card to mine.
Bryce.
And then the other thing that stood out that I have to bring up is that song that they play in the cab when Janelle is getting kidnapped.
Yeah, what was that?
Leatherette. Warm. Leatherette. Just like a super, like, techno. Leatherette. Warm. Leatherette. Just like what they would play on Sprockets and SNL. That's an old callback. Anyway.
Welcome to Sprocket.
All right. Well, that's like I just wanted to be really, objectified Gabourey Sidibe for a second there. So I'm all done.
She's so pretty.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
all of them are pretty.
I thought we were talking about Janelle again. I can't stop thinking about Janelle. No, Gabourey is beautiful as well, also. But I mean, it's like standing next to the sun.
Yeah,
you're not gonna get seen.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so final recommendations for Antebellum. Like, is this okay? I guess the first question is it worth renting for $20?
In my opinion. Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I liked it. My wife was excited to watch it, and then she promptly fell asleep, as she does. But that's
par for the course.
Well, that's not only par for the course, but also, I think this is a movie that will appeal to a very wide spectrum of audiences. This isn't Hereditary, where half the people who watch it are going to be so put off by the just pure disturbing nature of the whole thing. And there are social commentaries within this that are, that are, while they are a bit ham-handed, they are, they're valuable and important to at least recognize or realize.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a very, the technique is like to juxtapose these two realities and show how horrifying they are, which they do well.
They do.
Do
you think it's worth paying for?
I have less faith in humanity in that, and even just looking at the reviews, like, I feel like there's going to be, since everything's overly politicized at all times, there's going to be people that are like, oh, stupid woke movie, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. Just some people can't appreciate a thing for what it is.
Yeah, I appreciate this movie for what it is. And it is pretty good at what it does.
Yeah, I appreciate it for what it is. It's right down the middle for me. Just, it was disappointing, and I'm not trying to like score it based on what my expectations versus what it was. Like, I'm not including that in the score or recommendation. Mostly it's just like, in terms of like storytelling and like filmmaking and character stuff, there's just not, they don't do that much with it.
Yeah.
Like in terms of a film. One of the things that, there's a couple different ways they could have done it, but that might have been better, but it's fine. I would not pay $20 to rent it. I wouldn't say go out and watch it right now. Unless you want to support like these types of movies, which are worth supporting. But,
what does that mean? These types of movies?
Well, I mean, just kind of like a different horror. I mean, it's not a slasher.
Yeah.
It's like a innovative concept. It's along the lines of like, social commentary that is like really kind of developing the genre and stuff. Like that's good and supportable. But if you're like just looking at the baseline, is this worth renting as a $20 horror movie versus like something you haven't already seen on Netflix that you know is going to be good? I would probably favor Netflix. And this will, I mean, horror movies have a pretty quick turnaround. This will be on streaming pretty soon, I think.
Yeah.
Like within a month and a half, this will probably be on Amazon Prime or Netflix or something for it, at the very least for like $5.
Yeah. I agree. So would you recommend, so you say no, don't spend your $20.
I recommend seeing the movie.
Don't spend $20.
I don't recommend spending $20. I would wait.
I do.
Just a little bit. Okay. So that's our review. Let's head into taglines.
Here's taglines.
Okay. Taglines is a game where we come up with alternate taglines for the movie we're reviewing.
Yay!
I got 4.
I got like 3 or 4. I'll go first.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to steal this from me.
Okay.
The Village, Woke Edition.
Okay.
This is Antebellum, The Village, Woke Edition.
There you go.
So these taglines are meant to be fun, funny, stupid, and all these kinds of things. So I achieved that.
There you go. Antebellum. If you're not furbellum, you're antebellum.
Shut up. Okay. Antebellum. Fuck Whitey.
Antebellum. Hey, gorgeous. No, not you, bitch. You're much fatter, Fred. You're much, much fatter, Fred. Sorry.
Oh, man. Antebellum. Burn Whitey until his skin flays.
All right.
Do you remember that part? They burnt that dude. Burn them all up.
Antebellum. Turns out we didn't solve racism.
Not even a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like it's actually happening in a field in like Virginia, I guess, maybe. The Antebellum. I keep almost calling this The Village. Mm-hmm. Every time I'm like, the Antebellum. I am Whitey.
Yeah, my last one. Antebellum. M. Night Shyamalan's Get Out.
Dude, guns don't work this way. So in the ending chase scene, when he's running through the forest and he's shooting his gun at her, he's like pow, 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 and it's a revolver. I was like, what's happening?
See, I didn't think it was a revolver. I thought it was like showing that he actually had like a modern gun.
Oh, okay.
That had a clip.
I couldn't see, it was kind of dark, but then also then once the movie revealed itself to be like modern times, I was like, oh, he was firing blanks at her. Because you're not going to have a recreation field with a bunch of real guns.
Sure.
Kill all your extras.
But they did, though. In the plantation, they killed someone with a gun. And that's the first scene.
Yes, but you don't, I mean, when you're reenacting the Civil War, you got to have a bunch of blanks.
Sure. Okay, let's go on to next segment for horror movie.
Whoores.
Whoores. I have one here from our boy. So the number. What is the number? Guys, do you have the number? It is 682
253
4468. So if you call that, you can leave us a voicemail. Let us know what you think about the show. Tell us how bad we smell. That Bryce is a racist and a sexist. I definitely expect to hear a lot of those. I have our first one. This is from our old number. You guys gotta, update your number. We do have a new number. I'm sorry that, it's hard for you, but this is our boy. This is a Patreon member. This is Jackal. Is it Jackal? Jackal.
Hey, this is Jackal from Kansas once again. I got multiple points in this one. I'm going to make it succinct. Number 1, Hannibal. Y'all both, give it another shot. You know what? Bryce, start episode 2. It's scarring. It's beautiful. The writers, they must have had to gone through therapy for the creative, macabre bullshit they came up with. Point number 2, Alien's a horror movie. 7's out for discussion. Point number 3, I hope you babies are doing good. I know shit's rough out there on the West Coast. I don't have any coast to worry about. It's more or less boring. I have to worry about tornadoes. They aren't out right now. But I hope y'all are doing good. Change your air filters. You know what? Wear some N95s. I hope y'all are doing okay. Have a good time with it, talk to you later.
Thank you, Jackal.
Thanks, Jackal.
Yeah, so he says
give Hannibal a chance. Yeah, I actually watched several episodes again, and I realized now that I've watched a lot of them because they were very familiar. But I watched them the same way I watched them this time, which was I'm watching them while I'm playing a Civ 5 game, and that gets absolutely none of my attention.
Oh, really?
So, I don't know. Even upon rewatching it, didn't have my full attention, but honestly, it wasn't really commanding it. I have something against procedurals. Like, there's something about, like, the exposition in procedurals that's just like, literally, okay, let's get this out of the way in the most like artificial fashion. We got to have 5 people that are each saying a sentence in this paragraph.
Yeah, I gave this show a pretty good shake. I made it most of the way through the first season, and yeah, like I want to like it, and I recognize that it is a good show. It's got solid bones. It's not really terribly boring, but my attention just wanes pretty heavily on this. On shows in general, you have to be pretty. I don't make it through shows well. You're talking to somebody who can't make his way through The Wire or The Sopranos. Right. I can't. It's hard for me. It's hard. I have a short attention span, And so it's I'm not saying it's a bad show. It's just,
maybe it's because you're a yeah. I mean, the other thing is that really bothers me is some of the acting. I really hate the guy that plays Graham, whatever his name is.
Yeah, the affected guy.
Yeah, just so it's so ridiculous to me, and like I haven't read the source material.
You and I got into a fight over why this show was bad.
Yeah.
An actual fight. I was like, it's bad because of this. And you're like, no, it's bad because of this. And I was like, fuck you. Fuck yeah, guy.
Yeah,
it's not bad. We just had differing opinions on what made it less good.
Yeah. I don't remember Will Graham like being labeled as autistic in the source. I haven't read the original source material, but I've seen Red Dragon and Manhunter, and I don't think that was ever a thing. He was just a super competent detective, you know? And then this one, he's like, he's not a detective. He's not in the FBI, but they're using him because he's like a savant.
Yeah.
He's
a special agent because he can't get in the FBI because they have screening programs to keep people like him out.
Yeah, because he's crazy.
Crazy.
And the only way to catch a rapist is to become
a rapist.
So the only way to catch a serial killer is to become a serial killer. And it's like, it's this weird artificial thing where they're like, maybe he's going crazy. He's unstable. And like,
I don't care about that.
The way, and it's like, it's so stupid. It's like, why do that? It doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. And because of that, the acting on it is so over the top to where the thing I laugh at is he's holding his gun to shoot someone, and the guy is so twitchy throughout it that his gun is like, he's like, huh, don't make me shoot you. And he's like within like a foot
big wiggling
like square, his hand is shaking at all times.
Yeah, and somehow he manages to pull off a headshot on a guy who has a victim in front of him.
Right.
And it's like, pistols are very hard to do that with.
And so the Will Graham character is way too twitchy, like absurdly twitchy to where it's not even a real person.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like Lawrence Fishburne. There's a couple times where he just just like absurdly over the top, like angry.
Yeah.
Like he'll be like, all right, everybody, clear the room. I need to talk to Will Graham. Clear the room. What did I just say?
Yeah, he gets really unreasonably angry very quickly.
It's just like not even like a one Mississippi. It's like, I mean, they got
out, get out. It's like, okay.
I mean, they got bags and books. Let them, like, hold on a second. They got to pack up.
Yeah, and then the other thing Jackal mentioned was he hopes we're doing okay out here because at the time when he left the message, it was very smoky. There was a lot of fires, and there are still fires, and they will be going until probably until the end of the season, around the middle or end of October. But they've died down quite a bit, and things are getting better. You know, now it's just coronavirus, the election,
family deaths.
Yeah, a huge political divide that's probably not bridgeable. You know, it's just we're down to the normal stuff. So
right, yeah, we're fine.
We're fine.
You're doing great.
You're doing great.
Okay. Do you have another one on the old one? Or?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we got one from...
Again, that number is
682-253-4468. Here's one from Max.
Hey, this is Max. Bryce, why you gotta be so mean to David all the time, huh? If he wants to watch a sci-fi movie and call it horror, let him. If he wants to watch, you know, like a crime movie, call it horror, let him. What are you going to say next? The live-action Scooby-Doo isn't a horror movie either?
Is the live-action Scooby-Doo movie a horror?
I feel like this is a trap.
Is it?
I don't know. Do you think it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, then yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks, Max.
Well, I mean... You know, I mean, I don't know what his credentials are necessarily. He could be, you know, he could be a big movie reviewer, and he might have some valid opinions. I don't know.
Right.
But I didn't hear any of them. I just heard a bunch of hearsay and conjecture.
Well, it's just good to be a caring individual and let some people be wrong sometimes.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah. There's a bunch of voicemails from someone doing a voice, and I don't understand a goddamn word that they're saying.
Well, this sounds good. Go ahead and play one.
My dick has been ripped off and then fucking me up the asshole. Yeah, I love you guys. I think if you were really fucked up my asshole.
So something about a dick and an asshole is what I got.
I have all the characteristics of a human being. Flesh, blood, skin, hair. But not a single clear, identifiable emotion.
Here's another one.
And I got a kid from the underworld, right? I want to suck on your little titties and Dave, your little shrimp cock. I love it. We love it down here. La 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 la.
Listen, I cannot understand you. All right, this is an actual one, I think.
Hey, good morning, you sexy horror sluts. This is your buddy Jonathan A. from Virginia giving you a call. Just wanted to say, had a great time with you guys the other night when we all watched Killer Clowns from Outer Space on the Netflix party, even though it took me 20 minutes to figure out how to sync the movies to your guys. I guess that's why they make instructions. Anyhow, just wanted to call, say keep doing what you're doing. We love it. And to settle a couple disputes real fast, one being that Alien is definitely a horror film.
Man, everyone's
but
going
Seven,
back to the well on these.
I don't really consider that one a horror movie. Now, if it had if John Doe had turned out to be like the devil or something, picture like Gabriel Byrne's character from End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger. If he had been a serial killer, I would have given it more a horror. I would have given it more of a horror label. Anyhow, just finished the Saw episode, and you guys had mentioned Hannibal. I just want to say definitely give that a watch. It's crazy. Me and my wife watched it pretty hardcore. And it's like watching Hannibal cook people, and it sounds crazy. No, he's cooking people, but I got stuck in the kitchen. But after 2 weeks of watching him, I found myself making a fucking beef Wellington in the kitchen, listening to classical music. Again, he's cooking people and whatnot, but it increased my culinary prowess. Not to say I'm going to go cooking humans or anything like that, because that's nasty, but yeah, man, give it a shot. Anyway, again, love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing, and talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, Jonathan. So another one, going back to horror or not, with Aliens and Seven.
Yeah.
And talking about Hannibal, so, yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm a pretty sick guy.
He sounded pretty sick. He greeted us like, "What's up, you fucking whores?" Like, damn. I kind of like the accent, you know? It's not real heavy duty.
I like that he says "ifin'."
Ifin'? Ifin' ya? You know what? I slip into, you know how there's kind of an accent around here, like in the rural areas of like faux country, like faux southern accent around here. Are you familiar with this at all? If you get into the rural areas around Oregon, Washington, you get people with a little bit of a draw.
Yeah.
And I can slip into that like that. I'm very quick to do that, particularly if I'm talking to certain people who I know will be, will take to that, who it will sit better with them if I talk that way instead of really succinctly.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
My wife says that Washington and Oregon have an accent, and I just can't. I mean, I guess you can't hear it if you're speaking it, but I don't think that they have anywhere near an accent as even like Utah.
Well, I mean, they have an accent to somebody, right? But I mean, in terms of like, if the thing that you're basing it off of is like the newscaster voice, we speak the newscaster voice, the American newscaster voice, which is like, quote unquote, American English, you know?
Sure.
With no affect.
I like it when people that are out in the boonies or even just like the people that are like live in battleground, which is
this is what I'm talking about.
Just barely out.
Yes.
And they're like, they have the drawl, like, just feels really affected to me. They're like, I really like country music, and so I'm going to talk like this.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, people do that all the time,
right?
You know, for all kinds of different things.
Yeah, I guess if
who they are based on what they like, and yeah, I mean, it's hard not to, and you're just not paying attention to the things in your life that you like let slip into your own shit.
Right. This one's from Elizabeth.
Hey guys, it's Elizabeth with an S. I'm calling from all the way on the other side of the country, the East Coast. I just want to say I absolutely love you guys. There are times when I'm just sitting in my car and I just bust out laughing. I mean, you guys make my Wednesday. I'm basically a traveling salesman, so I have nothing better to do than listen to your podcast. But, I mean, that's okay because you guys are pretty awesome. Anyway, my question today for you guys is there any kind of, like, horror movie where you have wanted to research on the internet more about that movie? Has there really been a movie that's intrigued you a lot? For me, for example, I really liked It Chapter 1 a lot. I really liked the lore between Pennywise, and honestly, I've never read the book. I've tried. It's a very long book. Stephen King puts a lot of detail into his book, if not too much. So, you know, I researched a little bit about his lore, and I really liked learning about him because I thought he was a cool character. So I just wanted to know if you guys did the same with any horror movie like that. So thanks, guys. Love you so much. Bye-bye.
That's a great question. What are the horror movies that make you like actually go and do research?
I think for me, it's not research. I'd like to go to the source material. Like there's a couple that the two that I can think of right now is like
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist, I just bought the book and read it. And that was like, it's the exact same as the movie. It's like not even the only thing. I mean, the movie's better to me just because of, Ellen Burstyn.
For me, that's holds true of Akira. Akira is one of these movies that I've watched ever since I was a little kid and just been like, what the fuck is this? What is this? And I bought a gigantic 6,000 page 35th anniversary edition of the manga for Akira. It's the only manga I've ever bought. And I read it all the way through, and I was still like, I don't have any idea what any of this means. So it was very unfulfilling, but that's an example of me having to go to the source material to figure out what the fuck is going on.
The other one that I went to the source material was with The Walking Dead. I think I started the first season or two, and then I went.
Comics are much better.
Read the comics. Yeah, the comics were better, especially like they move along at a pretty quick clip compared to The Walking Dead, which like really, especially like the second season, they're like, all right, we're
your source material. There is so many of those Walking Dead comics. Like there is no shortage of these. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Right.
So why not just pick it up?
Yeah.
For me, I can actually relate 100% to that question. The movies that get me to do research, the ones that always pique my interest so heavily that I have to look into them, are demonic possession movies. So we're talking about Paranormal Activity. We're talking about Hereditary with Payman. We're talking about The Exorcist with Pazuzu.
Really? So you look back the background of the demon?
Every time I'm like, okay, Beelzebub, which one? He's the fly god or whatever it is, or, Baphomet or Belial. I get into the demons every time. That sucks me in every time I hear about a demon and it's attached to the person. It's not attached to the place. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the scariest concept ever.
I thought you would have mentioned Aliens and Predator.
Oh, Alien for sure is another. Oh man, yeah. Well, that's a great universe. It goes deep, and then the Predator, how Predator and Predator 2 call back to Alien and tie into it is pretty cool as well. And I've always enjoyed those comics.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Yeah. On the other end of the spectrum,
I'm calling back from the underworld. I just finished listening to the Saw one. It fucking sucked. Give me that daddy dick, David.
I just want to say you guys are pieces of shit.
Oh, oops.
All right, here's one from one of our favorites, See No Evil in Cleveland.
Hey, See No Evil in Cleveland. Hey, Dave, Bryce, everybody. So, Bryce, I just wanted to touch on something you had mentioned when you guys were reviewing Sinister. You had said something about how did I know about the movies being dark, because I had mentioned to Dave that I didn't like any of the Batman movies because they were dark, and Sinister was also dark, and how would I know if I would like it or not? Well, I've only been blind for a couple of years, so when the Batman movies came out, I saw those. I had vision at the theater, and I saw them, and I didn't like any of them, and I figured if Sinister were dark, then I would probably feel the same way about that. So just in case you were wondering, there you go. So I wanted to get your opinion, both of you, on sex scenes in horror movies. I personally think they're ridiculous. So you got some maniac chasing a couple with a chainsaw or some kind of axe or whatever. And so the two run and they find a hiding place temporarily so they can catch their breath. And dude looks at her and goes, "So you wanna do it?" And I'm thinking, negative. Hell no. I'm trying to stay alive. Do it. I don't want to come and go at the same time. Are you kidding me? I mean, what?
Come and go.
What's the point? I don't get sex scenes in horror movies. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me.
That's because you're not a guy.
I mean, nudity is fine, but to stop and actually have sexual intercourse, you know, while you're in the process of trying to remain alive, I just don't get it. And I just want to know what your opinion was on that. Thumbs up, thumbs down on sex scenes in horror movies.
It's very simple. My answer is...
Can I see one titty? Oh, girl, just give me one titty.
I just want to see one of your titties, girl.
I mean, the thing she said, it rings true for women.
Yeah, I mean, that's like true of most.
I'm worried. I have a headache. I'm tired. I'm worried. There's a serial killer after us. It's like, okay, bitch, but can we just do it real quick? Like, it's not going to take me a long time.
I mean, all I need is like 40 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, even then, I mean, you could throw it back a little bit and we could cut that down in half. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's true of
enthusiasm,
that's true of like most sex scenes in all movies, really. It's pretty arbitrary. And it's like, well, wait a minute. And you see like these like sex scenes in action movies and they just like, they haven't showered for 3 days and they just crawled through like a tunnel of shit. And they're like, "Hey, baby."
That's me.
Like,
I could do that. Dude, okay, so I have a good story.
I mean, yeah, the answer is like, for men, we're always game.
Always
game.
Especially for some strange shit.
Just like the circumstances in which we would say like, "Yeah, I'm just not feeling it." Like, that's the extreme scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a few circumstances I can think of.
Like, you just had major surgery.
Or it's really cold. If it's very, very cold, it would be hard to do.
No, that's no problem.
See, I couldn't do it.
No problem for me.
I couldn't do it if it was really cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I get it. I get your point. And, you know, but also, just show me one titty.
Yeah.
But it's impressive to me that we could be so different, you know? Oh, I have a story for you. So I used to fight wildland fires for a long, long time. And the thing about fighting wildland fires, not a lot of showers and a lot of 16-hour days where you're just out there just doing physical labor and you're getting really stinky and sweaty and smelly and you're covered in ash and soot and you go to bed and you sleep in that, you know, in a sleeping bag. And
so it's like Boy Scout camp.
30 days sometimes of no shower. And I had this friend who I fought fire with, and he was married, as was I believe at the time. And he's like, "Oh man, are you ready?" You know, when we'd get rolling home, he'd be like, "Are you ready to get some of that?" "Oh yeah, you ready? Ready to get
fucked,
get sexual intercourse?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm excited, but I probably gonna have to take." He's like, "Oh no, dude, I get back and I smell like hell, and that just turns her on." I was so jealous. I was like, I want somebody to feel that way about me.
Yeah.
And my wife would just be like, "Oh, you smell like the devil's asshole."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like,
I mean, there's people that literally get off on swimming and shit. So, I mean, anything goes for some people.
I think it's a musty man thing. You know, it's like you got to be into that super musty man idea scent.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If you're just like, your favorite thing is shoving your face into your boy's balls and getting a big old whiff, then like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Date a firefighter.
That's hot stuff.
Here's another one.
Hey, Bryce. See no evil in Cleveland. So, I wanted to touch base about a question I think you guys talked about maybe 3 podcasts ago about what would be your get out of the house moment. You know, I think arachnophobia was one of them, and Amityville Horror was another one. So I want to take it to another level. So my question is, what would be your get the hell out of Dodge moment? So for me, let's look at 28 days later, okay? So the guy wakes up out of a coma. He's looking around. There's no doctors, nurses, no other patients, nobody. Wanders outside. There's no people, no traffic, no animals, nothing. Cars are abandoned, doors open. And he's walking around going, hello, 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 hello. Yeah, that's not a good idea to do. And I think he finally wanders in a church and he starts going, hello, hello. And a couple of goons wake up and the priest is gyrating and shaking and looking all crazy, walking toward him. Yeah, see, that's a raise the hair on the back of your neck moment. And that's when you go and find one of those abandoned cars, make sure it's got gas in it, and get the hell out of Dodge until you can figure out what the hell is going on. You know? I mean, picture yourself in that situation. You wake up, you can't find your family, your friends, your neighbors, cars are abandoned all over the place, nothing. I mean, really? Are you going to try to find people, or are you going to say, you know what? I got to get the hell out of Dodge until I can figure out what the hell's going on. So, what do you do? Peace out.
We do ask that you keep your messages to a minute in length. Thank you.
I should change the voicemail message to include that, because I don't think I did that on mine.
I thought I did that.
Well, you did on yours, but I said it this one.
Oh, I said it on this one, too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, I didn't know that. So, well, I mean, for you, it's like right now. Isn't it? Political unrest.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. I was going to say, oh, yeah, you know, socio-political unrest.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me extremely nervous, and I don't like it. And, I mean, I have what a lot of people, I think, consider to be a silly opinion, but I think it's a very, well-based opinion. I don't know. All I have to do is point to places like Turkey and Bosnia and Kosovo and Israel and all kinds of places that are very civilized places, or were just not so long ago. And all it takes for society to collapse is a few essentials not being there for a couple of days. And then, if people can't get water for 24 to 48 hours, your next door neighbor is the scariest thing you can possibly imagine. And do you have a bathtub full of water? Hey, that's mine now. That kind of thing. And there is not very much standing in the way of these kinds of things happening. There's a lot of very, very complicated systems, like the electrical grid, that we take so totally for granted that you can't possibly begin to understand how for granted you take it. They're complex. They take many people thousands of hours a day just to keep up and running. And all it takes is a couple of those cards falling down for it to all kind of collapse. And it happens not infrequently on Earth. And to think that that we in the U.S. are immune to that somehow, I think is foolish. So that's scary to me. These are the get out of Dodge scenarios for me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get it. That's always a situation that could happen. For me, I think like the get out of Dodge thing is like, well, first I got to have somewhere to go, and I don't know where I would go that would be more safe, Sure. Like if I had like a cabin up in the woods, or I knew someone that had a cabin that would accept me.
Yeah, you got to take it on the road for sure.
Then yeah, but if not, like I can't imagine it'd be more safe than my own house.
I mean, people are the X factor to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to get away from people. Yeah, get in your car, get to somewhere there's no people, which is probably a tall order.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Just two more. They're both about a minute.
Hey, Jeff, it's me again, Manny again. I'm currently watching your Saw episode, and I just needed to call you guys because I just love you guys' episodes and everything like that. And the other episode, I was just looking, I was going to a friend of mine to get some food during lunch break, so I was just rushing and everything. So yeah, I love your episode. I was laughing the whole time. I just like this episode a lot. I just like how, you said that when you guys said that it looks like Blade Runner outside, and it kind of does from the second one, I think, 'cause I haven't seen those movies, I really need to. And also it's about the, I like to respect you guys, and, calling David by his real name is, respectful, because if I just say, oh, one of you guys, I feel like it wouldn't feel right, because if I'm really a really horror movie talks fan, I would know your guys' name at least, because you guys always drop it all the time, so it wouldn't be that hard. And plus, I love how David starts laughing when I said, oh yeah, he comes like Brian, he just starts laughing. But keep up the good content, guys, and I love you guys, and keep going with the horror.
Thanks, Manny.
I didn't understand half of that.
He was listening to our Saw episode, and he liked it. And something about not getting my name right. He called me Brian the last time.
I've been talking to Manny basically all week on Instagram. Yeah. He's like, I got some Predator action figures for you. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Where'd you get those? He's like, Target. It's like, oh, I don't shop ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
My car has had a flat tire, and the battery is dead now. Dead. And I haven't stepped foot in that car for
months.
3 months?
Yeah.
Because I never leave.
Wow. That's insane.
I take the van maybe once every 2 weeks to do an errand.
Yeah, you go over to Mom's house.
Yeah. But that's as a family.
Yeah.
For me personally, needing a car, this has revealed that I do not need a car.
This whole, all the things happening right now in 2020, my recent release has just been getting in the car and just fucking driving. Just driving and driving and driving. Driving to Eastern Washington and back. Driving.
All right.
Yeah, it helps because I'm doing something, It's,
Last one from Jason.
Hey, it's Jason. I just kind of wanted to ask you guys a question. What would be your favorite creepypasta? You know, because like aside from horror films, I really love a good like scary story or overanalyzation of anything. Personally, for me, if I had to say one, it'd be a cross between the creepy reality show where they're feeding the reality contestants human flesh, and slowly they see them turning feral. That, and I guess the Slender Man, the original Slender Man, has like a place in my heart because that is one creepypasta that scared the living shit out of me as a teenager. I'd like to hear your answers.
There's two that come to mind for me, and I think the important element for me for a creepypasta to be effective is it has to be inordinately long. Like, it has to be way too long, and I have to read it at like 2 a.m. in the morning. To where it's like, I'm so tired, but I can't stop reading this overly long, like, lead-on sentence of a creepypasta. One of them was, I don't even remember what the name of it was, but it was a cave one where it's got like actual pictures, and they're talking about like leading down a cave and weird stuff starts happening, and they start like, you read all like the journal entries and stuff.
That one was fabulous.
And there's like basically like a portal to hell kind of thing.
Yeah.
That one's great.
Yeah, it was great.
Because it's genuinely off-putting just from like, yeah, it's really hard to get through this cave and through these holes in the rock, and I had to, contort and all this stuff. And you're like, just really gets this claustrophobic feel before it starts even going down the creepypasta path. And then the other one was a comic where this one probably wasn't that long, but talks about, it shows these cliff walls, and it has these like holes in the cliff walls of like these weirdly elongated, like exaggerated human forms coming out of the rock face.
Yeah,
and then on the backside, it also has holes, but it's just like
the inverse,
the shape of a normal human body. And then it shows like it's actually the perfect shape for like certain people. So certain people will walk up into it and be like, wow, I fit perfectly in this. And then they like walk into it and they realize that it's like, oh, if I just kind of like shimmy, it'll push me along because it's got like kind of the
go in, not out,
the barbed, you know, kind of semi-barbed walls where like you'll be able to go forward but not back.
Right.
And then it just over time of like, it slowly starts changing the shape of the hole, and then you realize at the end that it's the elongated holes on the other side are the end point for the people that went in. And so it just shows this like horrifying, like distorted, like
wiggly
hell
wobbly
creatures.
guy. Yeah, for me it's I'm never read a lot of creepypasta, but I would have to be SCP. Just because that's a huge rabbit hole to fall down. And I believe it was born of Cabin in the Woods. Or
I think it was before that.
Did the Cabin in the Woods get spawned from SCP?
I think so.
I don't know, but I tell you, it's interesting stuff. All these different monsters and all with their own unique like world-ending capabilities and classifications. That's all kind of neat, and the illusion that it's real.
Right. All right. So that is Horror Movie Talk. Thank you so much for listening today. Please go to our website, horrormovietalk.com, and find your own unique way to support us, if you please. And if you like the show and you haven't already, leave us a rating and maybe even a review on Apple Podcasts, and that really helps us out in the rankings on that platform. And stay tuned for for horror movie talk giveaways for the month of October, or maybe giveaway, maybe, for the month of October, and our next Netflix party, which will be the second Saturday of October. So check out our Facebook group and you'll see updates there.
We love you very much. Bye.
Bye.
You did great. You did great.